So you might be wondering, how did these abstract theories help me get better at painting? What can I do next? But in my opinion, it's these two things. It's the type of light and the type of material that are going to improve your rendering by leaps and bounds. Because when I approach an illustration, it starts with the first question: what is the light? It's either a sunny day, or it's a cloudy day, or maybe it's an interior scene. And I know that is going to be consistent across all of the objects. And then I start thinking at the scene level, which objects are going to be lighter, which objects are going to be darker. And this either has to do with sort of realism, or it is artistic choices. But once I've gotten this general value pattern established in my thumbnail, I ultimately am going to be painting one object at a time. Even if it's an entire scene, it is built up of individual pieces. And each of those pieces has a surface material. It might be reflective, it might be flat, it's got its own local value, and really all the things we went over with the checklist. The trick then is not only getting each one to look cool on its own, but to think of how they work as a joint composition. But as I always say, I think you should start simple before you get complex. So to practice these new ideas, I've included a few different types of worksheets. The first of which are the spheres that we've been using as material studies. With these, I encourage you to take either the clear day or the cloudy day, and then pick a reference that sort of matches that. So you should be working from color photo references, and you're going to find some cool surface material, and then try and go through the checklist and recreate it on the sphere. But you're going to be recreating it in black and white. And this is going to test your sort of ability to really understand what you're looking at. I encourage you to think of it in modular terms, as in separating different layers to sort of imagine the different components of the material. Now, of course, you don't need to work this way if you don't want to. If you want to do alla prima painting and go on a total flat layer, that's cool too. The important point, though, is that you think about not just what does that exact material look like, but how do its various properties work in general? What can I learn from this that I can extrapolate into my own paintings? The other thing I've included is a still life scene. This I made in a 3D software. But what I want you to do is to see if you can turn these basic gray materials into more realistic things. Whether you use photo overlays or hand painting doesn't really matter, but what you want to end up with is a scene that has both a nice value read, as in you can look at it at a glance and it looks interesting, but that also has cool, realistic details. So for this, you'll also want to work in black and white, but probably use color reference, and see if you can make this boring gray scene look interesting. But look, guys, this is hard stuff. This is something that you are going to see improvement over, years, not days. But I still think that targeted studies really are the way to improve. Now, if you want to see all of these skills we've talked about in Basic Rendering 1 put into action, I conclude the Basic Rendering series with Basic Rendering 4. And the idea here is putting it into a proper illustration. So here I'll make this painting from start to finish, and I'll be explaining where I'm using the various techniques in sort of a real workflow. And of course, in order to make it a reasonable length, I'm not able to go into near the amount of detail that I have in the previous videos, but it'll give you a good sense for how the skills actually work in the real world. But no matter what you do, I really want to stop and thank you for supporting the site like this. I really appreciate your purchase, and it just helps me keep this project going. So have fun with this painting. It is hard work, but the results are worth it. Thanks for coming to the site, guys.